Every morning your dog watches you. They notice the exact moment your eyes open. They count the seconds between when you wake up and when you look at them. And somewhere in that silence, in that gap between your world and theirs, something fragile can break. You might think you're just going through your routine, checking your phone, making coffee, getting ready for work. But to your dog, every one of those moments is a choice between connection and distance, between love and something that feels dangerously close to abandonment. Most of us hurt our dog's feelings every single day without ever knowing it. Not through cruelty, not through neglect, but through the small, invisible ways we forget that dogs don't just live with us. They study us. They build entire emotional universes around our smallest gestures. And when those gestures change or disappear, their world tilts just slightly off balance. It's like the sun rising from the wrong side of the sky. They notice. They always notice. The first wound is one of the deepest. It happens the moment you come home. You walk through the door after hours away, and your dog explodes with joy. Their entire body becomes a celebration. Tail whipping, eyes bright. Every muscle saying the same thing over and over. You came back, you came back, you came back. And you? You walk past them. You set down your bags. You check your mail. You scroll through your phone. Maybe you give them a quick pat on the head a few minutes later, distracted, already thinking about dinner. You think you're just decompressing. But your dog has been waiting for this exact moment since you left. In their mind, your reunion isn't just routine. It's proof that the bond still exists, that they still matter. When you ignore that greeting, even for 30 seconds, you're not just delaying affection. You're teaching them that their love isn't urgent, that their joy doesn't move you. Canine behaviorists in Japan have studied this phenomenon extensively. They found that dogs experience a cortisol spike when their owners return home, but don't immediately engage. It's not excitement, it's stress mixed with hope. The dog's brain is asking a question it shouldn't have to ask: do I still belong to you? The second hurt lives in your inconsistency. Dogs are creatures of ritual. They don't just prefer routine, they build their sense of safety around it. They know what time you wake up, when the food bowl fills, when the walk happens, when the couch time begins. These aren't just habits to them. They're promises. And when you break those promises without explanation, you create a kind of emotional vertigo. Imagine if someone you loved completely changed their behavior toward you every day with no warning. One day, they're warm. The next day, they're distant. One day, the routine is sacred. The next day, it doesn't exist. You'd start to feel unmoored, anxious, like you're constantly guessing at the rules of connection. That's what inconsistency feels like to your dog. When you feed them 2 hours late because you slept in. When you skip the evening walk because you're tired. When you let them on the couch one day and push them off the next. Each break in pattern sends a quiet message: you can't predict me anymore. And unpredictability, to a dog, feels like the ground disappearing beneath their paws. The third way we hurt them is happening right now. You're sitting near your dog, maybe on the couch, maybe at the table. They're nearby, not asking for much, just existing in your orbit. They might glance at you every few minutes, checking, hoping, waiting for eye contact, for acknowledgement, for the invisible thread between you to pull tight again. But you're on your phone, scrolling, liking, commenting, living in a digital world that your dog can't enter. And here's what breaks quietly in that moment. Your dog doesn't understand screens. They don't know you're reading or connecting with others or working. All they know is that you're looking at something that isn't them. Your attention, which is the most valuable currency in their world, is going somewhere else. Research on canine cognition shows that dogs can detect even subtle shifts in human attention. They know when you're truly present and when you're mentally elsewhere. And chronic distraction from owners correlates with increased anxiety behaviors in dogs. The whining, the pacing, the destructive chewing when you leave. Those aren't just bad behaviors. They're symptoms of a dog who has learned that even when you're home, you're not really there. They're trying to pull you back from a place they can't follow. The fourth hurt is wrapped in something that looks like love, but feels like rejection. You reach for your dog. You want to hug them, squeeze them, hold them close against your chest. It feels natural, comforting. like the way you'd embrace someone you adore. But most dogs don't experience hugs the way humans do. To a dog, being wrapped tightly and restrained triggers something primal. In their world, weight and pressure from above often signals danger, a predator, a threat. Even if they love you completely, their nervous system reads your hug as a potential trap. Watch closely next time you embrace your dog. Do their ears flatten slightly? Do their eyes get wide? Do they freeze or lean away just a fraction? Those are appeasement signals. Your dog is tolerating your affection, not enjoying it. They're enduring the hug because they love you, not because it feels good. Animal behaviorists suggest that up to 80% of dogs show visible signs of stress during prolonged hugging. Your dog might never growl or snap, but inside, their cortisol is rising. Their heart rate is increasing. And every time it happens, a tiny voice in their head wonders why love sometimes feels like being held down. The fifth wound happens in the language you don't speak. Dogs communicate constantly through body language, and they assume you're fluent. When your dog turns their head away, they're saying, "I need space." When they lick their lips repeatedly with no food around, they're saying, "I'm uncomfortable." When they yawn in the middle of a tense moment, they're trying to calm themselves and you. But most of us miss these signals completely. We keep pushing, keep petting, keep talking, keep demanding interaction. Your dog is speaking to you in their native language, asking for a boundary, and you're ignoring every word. Imagine trying to tell someone you need a break, and they just keep touching you, talking at you, overwhelming you. That frustration, that helplessness, that's what your dog feels when you can't read their cues. And the cruel part is this: dogs are extraordinary at reading us. They've spent 15,000 years learning human faces, voices, gestures. They know what your footsteps sound like when you're happy versus angry. They can smell your stress and your sweat. But we rarely learn their language in return. So the conversation becomes one-sided. They understand you perfectly, and you misunderstand them constantly. That imbalance creates a loneliness that sits right between you, invisible but heavy. And here's what makes all of this so quietly devastating. Your dog doesn't blame you. They don't hold grudges or plan revenge. They just keep trying. Keep hoping. Keep showing up with the same loyal heart every single day, even when that heart has been hurt 100 small ways. They forgive you before you even realize you need forgiving. But awareness changes everything. The moment you start to see these invisible wounds, you can begin to heal them. You can choose to greet your dog first, before the phone or the bags. You can build routines and honor them like sacred promises. You can put the screen down and look into their eyes. You can learn their language and respect their boundaries. Because your dog isn't asking for perfection. They're just asking to be seen, to be understood, to know that their feelings, even the quiet ones, matter to you. There are deeper ways we wound our dogs, ways that live not in single moments but in patterns. In the architecture of their daily lives, these are the hurts that accumulate slowly, like sediment, until one day you look at your dog and wonder why they seem quieter, more hesitant, less joyful than they used to be. The answer often lives in the things we never thought twice about. The sixth way we break their hearts is hidden inside our chaos. You decide to rearrange the furniture, or you move to a new home, or your work schedule suddenly changes, and now you leave 3 hours earlier than you used to. To you, these are just life adjustments, necessary changes, but to your dog, the entire map of their universe has been redrawn without warning. Dogs don't just live in physical space. They live in emotional geography. They know which corner of the room feels safest. They know what time of day the house smells like you're about to leave versus about to stay. They build elaborate internal rhythms around your rhythms. When you disrupt those patterns suddenly and completely, you're not just changing their environment, you're erasing their sense of control. Studies on canine stress responses show that dogs in unstable or frequently changing environments show elevated baseline anxiety. They sleep less deeply. They startle more easily. Their digestion becomes irregular. And the heartbreaking part is that they can't ask you what's happening. They can't say, "Why is everything different now?" or "Will it change again tomorrow?" So they just absorb the uncertainty. They carry it in their bodies. The pacing at night. The clinginess. The sudden accidents in the house, even though they're fully trained. These aren't defiance. They're a nervous system trying desperately to find solid ground in a world that keeps shifting. The seventh hurt happens when you force connection. You have friends over, and you want your dog to be social. So you push them toward strangers, encouraging interaction. Or you see another dog at the park, and you pull yours closer, assuming they'll want to play. You think you're helping them, socializing them, teaching them the world is safe. But your dog is trying to tell you something different. Their body is stiff. Their tail is low or tucked. They're leaning away, trying to create distance, and you override all of it. You hand your dog to a guest who wants to pet them. You force a nose-to-nose greeting with an unfamiliar dog. You mean well, but in that moment, you've just taught your dog something devastating. That their fear doesn't matter. That their communication doesn't work. That even you, their safest person, won't protect them when they ask for help. Behaviorists call this learned helplessness. When a dog signals discomfort repeatedly and is ignored, they eventually stop signaling. They go quiet. They freeze. They accept that their voice has no power. And that acceptance looks like obedience on the surface. But underneath, it's a dog who has learned that the world will happen to them no matter what they say. The trust between you hasn't just cracked, it's inverted. Instead of you being their safe harbor, you've become another source of unpredictability, another force that pushes them past their limits without consent. The eighth way we hurt them is wrapped in the thing we think brings comfort. You come home, and your dog is anxious. Maybe there was a thunderstorm, maybe a loud noise frightened them. Maybe they're just having a hard day in ways you'll never fully understand, and your instinct is to soothe them. You kneel down, you pull them close, you speak in a high-pitched, syrupy voice. "Oh baby, it's okay, you're okay, don't be scared, mommy's here." You think you're offering reassurance, but here's what canine psychology reveals. Dogs don't process coddling the way human children do. When you flood an anxious dog with overly emotional, high-energy comfort, you're actually reinforcing the anxiety. Your tone and body language are telling them that yes, there is something to be worried about, that their fear is correct. You're rewarding the anxious state with attention and affection, which teaches their brain to repeat that state. A calm, confident presence helps a fearful dog. Soft words in a normal tone. Stillness. A quiet hand. But when you mirror their panic with your own emotional intensity, even if it's loving intensity, you amplify what you're trying to soothe. And your dog learns that being afraid gets them closeness, so the anxiety deepens, becomes a language they use to connect with you. The hurt here is subtle, but real. Your dog doesn't feel comforted. They feel more confused, because the person they rely on to stay calm in the storm just joined them in the chaos. The ninth hurt lives in the moments you punish emotions you don't understand. Your dog barks at a visitor. You yell at them to stop. Your dog growls softly when a child reaches for their face. You scold them for being aggressive. Your dog cowers when you raise your voice during an argument with someone else. You tell them they're being dramatic. But here's the truth. Hiding in those reactions, your dog isn't misbehaving, they're communicating. The bark is a warning. The growl is a boundary. The cowering is fear. These are the last resort signals a dog uses before they have no choice but to escalate. And when you punish those signals, you don't eliminate the feeling behind them. You just eliminate the warning system. You teach your dog that expressing discomfort or fear leads to more fear. So next time, they might skip the growl altogether. They might go straight to a bite. Not because they've become aggressive, but because you've taken away every other word in their vocabulary. Veterinary behaviorists see this constantly. Dogs who bite without warning almost always gave warnings. Warnings that were punished or ignored until the dog learned to stop giving them. The emotional damage here runs deep. Your dog feels unsafe. They feel misunderstood. And worst of all, they feel like the one being who should understand them has turned their fear into something shameful. These wounds stack quietly. No single one destroys the bond. But together, over time, they create distance. Your dog starts checking out emotionally. They stop greeting you with the same enthusiasm. They sleep in another room. They don't bring you toys anymore. They become what people call well-behaved. But what's really happened is that they've stopped trying to connect. They've learned that their emotional world doesn't translate into yours, that their feelings are invisible or inconvenient, and they've made peace with a smaller, quieter version of the relationship. But here's the thing that makes this all bearable, even beautiful. Dogs don't hold grudges. Their capacity for forgiveness is limitless. Every single day is a new chance to them. They wake up, hoping, believing, waiting to see if today is the day you'll notice them differently. The science backs this up too. Studies on dog-human attachment show that dogs can repair broken bonds remarkably quickly when consistency and empathy return. A few weeks of intentional presence, of learning their language, of honoring their boundaries and routines. That's all it takes for the light to come back into their eyes. So tonight, when your dog curls up near you, watch them for a moment. Notice how they position themselves just close enough to touch you if you move. How they sigh when they settle. How they sleep a little deeper when you're in the room. That's trust, still alive, still reaching toward you even after all the small ways it's been tested. Your dog isn't asking you to be perfect, they're just asking you to see them, to remember that beneath the wagging tail and the endless patience, there's a heart that feels everything. Every distraction, every broken promise, every moment you chose something else, but also every moment you choose them. Every time you put the phone down and meet their eyes. Every time you honor the routine. Every time you read their body language and respect what it's saying. Those moments rebuild everything. Because love, in a dog's world, isn't measured in grand gestures. It's measured in attention, in consistency, in the quiet acknowledgement that their feelings matter as much as yours. Which of these surprised you the most about your dog? If you want to keep understanding the secret language of your dog's heart, stay close. Because every video here is built for people who see their dogs not as pets, but as family, with feelings that deserve to be honored. Your dog's love is the purest thing you'll ever receive, and it deserves to be understood.